Tax season can be stressful. We know it always is for everyday Americans. For the ultra wealthy though, it's a whole nother story. Check out this headline from our friends at The Lever. Tax-free day for the ultra wealthy. Andrew Perez, Matthew Cunningham Cook, and Rebecca Burns on the job per usual. New data shows the wealthiest Americans have stashed $2 trillion in offshore tax havens as the government relaxes efforts to combat tax evasion. A recent study from Academic and Internal Revenue Service researchers found that wealthy Americans have stashed nearly $2 trillion in foreign tax havens, with much of that fortune linked to a handful of the country's richest households. Not surprisingly, a disproportionately high percentage of assets held in offshore tax havens are owned by the top 0.01% of US earners. No surprise at all. Most of us cannot relate to that in any form or fashion. You wanna talk about the few getting so much and the many out here suffering and paying the taxes. So how has it been allowed to happen? So glad that you asked, because we're gonna explain this to you. The new study published last month by the National Bureau of Economic Research found that US households held just below 2 trillion. US households. I want you to wrap your mind around that US households held just below 2 trillion in 2018 in financial accounts in places like Switzerland, Luxembourg, and the Cayman Islands that are generally considered tax havens because they have low effective tax rates. The study also follows a US Senate report warning of a glaring loophole in a law designed to combat the use of tax havens, a law that Republican legislators have long been trying to repeal outright. Compounding matters, early this year, the Biden administration gave foreign banks a reprieve on tax reporting. Like, we can't make this stuff up. But the major player in all of this deregulation is the Supreme Court. So we got the Biden administration complicit, we got the Supreme Court complicit, and especially from this ruling in February. Let's put up this headline right here. US Supreme Court limits penalties for not reporting foreign accounts. Now, do you think anybody else that we love and know and cozy up to on a regular basis would have this kind of protection?
No, not at all, not at all. And it's really, what's really upsetting about this is these people benefit from the taxes that we pay, that they're hiding their assets so that they don't have to. The poorest people are paying into, provide services that their companies advertise on the side of the roads. They use the trucks, their trucks drive down the roads that our taxes are paying to keep up. And it's not the wealthy taxes that they're benefiting from. It's the average, everyday American taxpayers' money that they're benefiting from, and they're hiding their assets, and it's shameful.
Yeah, the workaday people of this country. And as a result, the ultra wealthy continue to play their games when it comes to taxes. According to a 2021 White House study, the wealthiest 400 billionaire families in the US paid an average federal individual tax rate of just 8.2%. For comparison, the average American taxpayer in the same year paid 13%. So the people who can really afford to pay are paying virtually nothing compared to the rest of us. Now, in the words of the great Andrew Yang, that math ain't math for me, Ray.
I'm glad you showed the percentage that they're paying instead of, because a lot of these wealthy people love to pull up the raw numbers and say, well, look how much money I'm paying in taxes. I'm paying more taxes than anybody but as a percentage, it's lower. So they don't, and of course they have a lot more disposable income.
That's right.
So they don't feel it the way that the average American feels it. But it really is like, especially all of these people like to sort of, these right wingers who are wealthy like to consider themselves patriotic Americans. The most patriotic thing you can do in my book is pay your taxes. Support your fellow Americans.
That's it, pay it taxes so we can uphold the social contract. I'll tell you, there is a group out there, Ray, that I want to give a shout out to, and hopefully our viewers have heard of them, and that's the patriotic millionaires. When you said the word patriotic, it made me think of them. And that is a group of very wealthy people who have decided that it is in fact unpatriotic not to pay your taxes and pay them in a way that meets the need, like in line with what you got. And to have the average taxpayer pay almost double what these ultra wealthy people pay is definitely a sin and a shame. So let me shout out the patriotic millionaires. We need more of them.